#3. The Mountain of One. For 40 years, the glitch kept Mount Crux in order. This was not the same as living there, though the distinction had become a clerical matter and then an old joke with no audience. Mount Crux was a dark iron mining asteroid at the sector's edge, a mountain with corridors drilled into its black body. Its exterior was all squared shoulders and antennae turned away from the stars. Its interior was dry air, redundant locks, service lights that never quite brightened, and doors marked with instructions no one had read in decades. The glitch maintained the lights. He checked the ventilation. He calibrated the old extraction machines so they would remain ready to extract nothing. Every morning, if morning was the word for the time the ceiling strips shifted from white to a warmer white, he ran a report declaring the fortress operational. The report went nowhere. This was one of its better qualities. His coat hung from him like a small courthouse. It was heavy dark wool, reinforced at the shoulders and lined all the way down with old ledgers, their pages sewn in at the seams. Between the ledgers, little silver mirrors faced outward. Anyone coming toward him saw themselves in fragments, an eye, a hand, a mouth caught mid-sentence. The glitch did not see the lining unless he took the coat off, which he almost never did. The mirrors had made arrivals simpler. There had not been an arrival in a long time. At 7, the corridor voice said, "Administrator presence confirmed. Please maintain zero contact conditions. Unscheduled interaction increases liability." At 7:01, another voice answered from the speaker by the sealed lift. "All variants must be documented before it is felt." At 7:02, an older voice, softened by so many repetitions it had become nearly kind, said, "The claimant's needs have not been verified." The glitch stood at the control desk and initialed the daily readiness report. "Objection," said a fourth voice from somewhere above the ceiling. "Need is not a service category." "Objection sustained," said the corridor voice. "Proceed with isolation," said the lift. The speakers had been disconnected for 23 years. Their wires were cut behind the panels. The voices did not care. They sat in the rooms with him, filing motions against the air. They were not ghosts. Ghosts at least knew they were dead. These were institutional voices: intake, eligibility, security, assessment, denial. They had learned the building's acoustics. They had learned his own. The glitch took his daily walk through the main hall. He carried a tablet, a ring of old keys, and a small brush for clearing iron dust from the floor seams. He did not need the brush. The dust could stay. But the brush gave his hand a task while the courtroom convened. "State the purpose of this inspection," said a voice. "Routine," he said. "Routine is not a purpose. Preventive maintenance." "Maintenance of what?" He paused beside a door marked "External Access." The lettering had been worn pale by nobody touching it. "Of the system," he said. "Define system." He did not answer. The old keys pressed cold and familiar through his glove. Mount Crux had once sent ore down the relay routes and received people up them. Auditors, technicians, supervisors, people whose faces he could no longer picture because the code had been so good at returning faces to their owners. Then the relay traffic thinned. Then it stopped. The fortress continued to announce its compliance into the quiet. The glitch continued to carry the quiet from room to room, careful not to spill it. At midday, an alarm began ringing in the communications bay. It was not the usual alarm. The usual alarms were practiced. They began with a low tone, proceeded to a reasonable tone, and then posted a note requesting that someone consider the possibility of concern. This alarm came in crooked bursts, 3 high chirps and a pause, 3 more and a pause. It was a distress code, old enough that it used a sequence instead of a polite message. The glitch stood still. "Unverified signal," said the corridor voice. "Do not engage," said the lift. "Contact is a breach," said the ceiling. He went to the communications bay anyway. The room was circular and almost empty. Its central receiver had been covered with a dust cloth. He removed the cloth. The signal leaped from the console in green lines, a ship at the edge of sensor range, a small ship, its transponder announcing paper sail. The distress flag was not theirs. It had been triggered by Mount Crux's own old emergency beacon, which had woken up at the sound of their approach and begun shouting into the dark. The glitch stared at the name. "Do not respond," said the voices. The console chimed. An incoming hail waited in a red square. He could ignore it. Ignoring was a full profession. He had seniority. The hail chimed again. He accepted. A silver-furred face filled the screen. Behind it, an untidy cabin moved in and out of view. A kettle swung on cords. A red rose under a glass bell occupied the edge of the frame. A smaller person with a wrench leaned over a panel, unimpressed by the fact that anyone was answering. The silver-furred person said, "Good afternoon, terrifying mountain. This is Cyrus of the paper sale. Your beacon has been asking if it is abandoned. I said no, it has excellent posture." The glitch looked at the screen. "You have contacted a restricted facility," he said. Cyrus brightened. "Perfect. We were worried we had contacted an unrestricted one." A boy came into view beside him. He held the bell with the rose in it. His face was solemn in the way of people who had asked a real question recently and were unsure where to put the answer. "Are you alone?" the boy asked. The glitch looked toward the ceiling speaker. "Question exceeds scope," said the ceiling. "There are multiple voices present," he said. Cyrus's ears tilted. "That is either very interesting or very expensive." The small person moved closer to the screen. "Your emergency beacon is broadcasting without a maintenance log. It is part of a legacy system. So are you," Cyrus said pleasantly. The glitch's hand closed around the ring of keys. It was not anger exactly, it was the sensation of finding a loose bolt in a machine one had sworn contained no loose bolts. "State your purpose." "We need a long-range relay check," said Cindy Lou. "The port's public coordinates are delayed." Cyrus looked at her. "We do?" "Yes," the prince said, "and your beacon sounded lonely." The glitch almost ended the call. The word entered the room and sat down in the only chair. Signals do not have emotional conditions, said the corridor voice. The prince heard it through the open channel. He did not react as if it were strange. He only said, perhaps, but they can be tired of repeating. The green lines of the old beacon continued their crooked bursts. The glitch said, this facility is not open for visitors. Cyrus glanced past him at the blank room. We could be inspectors. We have the faces for it. No, said Cindy Lou. Fine. We could be a moderately concerning weather pattern. No, I am trying to make this easy. The glitch found himself looking at the little ship behind them. Its cabin was too small for the number of things in it. Labels had been taped to switches. The rose bell had a fan. There was a real window behind Cyrus, and through it the black outside was plain and unedited. The prince held his gaze through the screen. The boy's eyes did not perform sympathy. They were simply there, which was worse for the glitch's defenses and better for something he did not intend to name. Your ship will remain beyond the perimeter, he said. Absolutely, Cyrus said. We are excellent at perimeters. We have been asked to leave several. The glitch terminated the call. For 7 seconds no one spoke. He did not notice the length of the silence. He was busy examining the receiver as if the conversation might have left a residue on it. The console still showed the paper sail at the perimeter. It had not departed. Unauthorized contact is now on record, said a voice. Submit an incident narrative, said another. Include all contributing failures, said a third. What did you mean by alone? The glitch asked. The voices stopped. The halt was so complete that the ventilation hum became enormous. He put the dust cloth back over the receiver, then took it off again. His hands had no instructions for this sequence. Outside the communications bay, the corridor ran toward the external access door. There were 6 security doors between here and the airlock. The glitch knew the protocol for each one. He had updated the protocol twice after no one asked him to. The final door was supposed to require 2 authorizations, a departmental key, a biometric scan, and a waiting period long enough to make departure feel impolite. He went toward it. Exit is not indicated, said the ceiling. I am inspecting the locks, he said. Lock inspection requires a work order. I am the administrator. Administrator presence confirmed, said the corridor voice. Please maintain 0 contact conditions. He reached the first door. It opened at his approach. Of course it did. It had opened for 40 years. The second door opened after he held his key against the plate. The third required his palm. The fourth made him wait while a light moved from red to green. Each was an old ritual, and he performed it with the calm of someone stacking cups in a quiet room. At the 5th door he stopped. Through its narrow observation slit was the outer hall, and far beyond the fortress's small shielded window, the ordinary black of space. The paper sail was a pale speck out there. It had not left. A visible ship. An absurd blue wave. His coat's mirrors caught the view in fragments and threw it back at him. Not the ship, mostly. His own eye, his own mouth, sealed, his own hand on the keyring. Departure constitutes non-compliance, said the voices, gathering behind him. Destination not approved. Support capacity unknown. Re-entry risk unassessed. Applicant has not demonstrated stability. Applicant has not completed intake. The words overlapped. They did not shout. They did not need to. They were trained to be calm until calm became a wall. The glitch stood in the observation hall with his hand on the 5th door's release. A procedural answer rose to his tongue. He could have used it. He could have said no one was applying. He could have said this was an equipment inspection. He could have said he was not an applicant to anything. Instead, he heard, with a peculiar clarity, the little boy on the screen, perhaps, but they can be tired of repeating. He opened the 5th door. The airlock was beyond it, round and bare. Its inner panel showed a single amber line, manual override available. The line had always been there. It had probably been there before he arrived. The outer door was marked locked in large red letters, followed by a smaller line, verify engagement before entry. He put his key into the panel. Nothing happened. He tried again, turning the key harder. Nothing. Access denied, said a voice in his coat. Do not force the mechanism, said another. Failure to comply may result in... The glitch pressed his gloved palm against the outer door, not because he expected anything. He was already looking down at the key, wondering if it had finally worn smooth. The door opened on the first try. It had never been locked. There was no click of a lock, no resistance, no mechanism giving way after 40 years of duty. It slid aside with a clean old sigh. Cold white starlight entered the airlock. The paper sail waited beyond the narrow bridge, held in place by its own small thrusters. Its hatch was open. Cyrus stood there in a patch jacket, one hand on the frame. The prince stood behind him with the rose bell. Cindy Lou was somewhere inside, making a noise with a wrench that suggested a complaint against metal. The glitch did not notice that the door had been unlatched. He was busy being annoyed at the key for not being necessary. Cyrus called across the bridge. Ah, Inspector, I hope you brought your own clipboard. Ours is damp. I am not an inspector, said the glitch. Better and better. The glitch stepped onto the bridge. The fortress's gravity made him heavy for 6 paces. Then the paper sail, small field, caught him and changed the weight beneath his feet. His coat pulled at his shoulders. The ledgers whispered against one another. In the outward-facing mirrors, Cyrus became a broken silver shape, the prince a red point beside a glass bell, the dark iron mountain a collection of black angles receding behind him. He crossed before he could complete the required internal debate. Cyrus offered a hand. The glitch looked at it, then at Cyrus's face. 5 seconds, Cyrus said. Port regulation, we can break it later if we fill out the proper form. The glitch did not take the hand. He passed through the hatch, which was also unlatched, and entered the cabin. The smell struck him first. Solder, dry tea, hot dust, something peppery. Then the kettle swung a little above the counter. The labels on the switches were handwritten. One read, ask first. A porthole above the pilot seat showed space as it was, with no blue planet added for morale. Cindy Lou looked up from an open panel. Your coat is dragging iron dust on the floor. It is iron dust, the glitch said. Yes. He stood there. The cabin had no empty space to hide in. The Rosebell sat on a bunk, its red bloom angled toward the porthole. The prince was watching him in the direct, inconvenient way he watched signals. Cyrus began securing the bridge without asking whether the glitch intended to return. Where are you going? The glitch asked. Cyrus looked at the console. Away from here initially. After that, we are bravely underprepared. The route is not approved. Most routes are only approved after they happen. It is a terrible system. The glitch's hand went to the coat's inner edge, a ledger page pressed against his knuckles. Somewhere behind the wall of the fortress, the voices continued their hearing without him. He could almost hear the clerk calling the room to order. He could almost hear the door counting down to its automatic seal. The paper sail disengaged from Mount Crux. The mountain did not reach after them. Its dark face remained where it had always been, full of corridors, reports, and one unengaged lock. The glitch watched it shrink in the porthole until it was no longer a mountain, only a hard shape among the stars. Cindy Lou shoved a rag toward him, for the floor. He took it. Cyrus glanced over his shoulder. Do you know anything useful about long-range relays? I know everything useful about long-range relays, the glitch said. Fantastic. We have acquired expertise. The prince adjusted the Rosebell's fan. Do you need a place for your coat? No. The answer came quickly. It was a door closing in a room that had never been visited. The prince only nodded and made space on the bench beside the bell. The glitch sat there because there was nowhere else. The rag lay in his hands. The ship made its kettle sound as it turned toward the outer dark. For a while he listened to the engine, to the wrench, to Cyrus saying something unhelpful but kind to the navigation display. The courtroom did not go away. Its voices were still crowded inside the coat. But they had to speak over the ship now. #Act 2.